Hello and welcome to Channel Sport this morning. It's great to have you join us again. I am Tayo Salam. This is what the show looks like. We're starting off with Nigeria's D Tigers. They'll begin the quest to qualify for the FIBA Women's World Cup when they take on China later today in Belgrade. Wishing the girls all the best in that matchup against the Chinese. Promises to be a very exciting one indeed. Also on the program this time around, we're talking football. Romelu Lukaku's first half strike was enough to send Chelsea into the final of the FIFA Club World Cup. They're taking on Brazilian side Palmeiras in the final on Saturday. Also on the show, Southampton, still talking football, but this time in the Premier League, where Southampton pulled off an incredible late comeback to defeat Tottenham Hotspur at the Tottenham Stadium. We have details of these and more later on the show, so try and stick with us for the next 55 minutes for all of the juicy details indeed. I'm not alone on the show, not flying solo. I've got my guests with me. Kingsley Udofia. Kingsley is making a comeback after some time on the sideline. Kingsley, good morning. It's great to have you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me back here today.
Yes, great to have you. How did you make it down here? It's quite tough out there with the fuel situation and all.
Yeah, with the queues here and there, traffic, but I just had to make it out here early. Like they say, early risers, you just have to make your way down on time. But then again, it's a country we live in. You just have to adjust to the situation of things.
Yeah, it's quite a shame, but it is what it is. Let's get on with the show. We're going to start with the NBA, right? We have 6 games that went down early this morning, starting with the Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the San Antonio Spurs, and it was the Cavs that prevailed 105-92 in that particular game. Darius Garland, who was a first-time All-Star, scored 27 points in his return from a back injury in that particular victory. Elsewhere, the Chicago Bulls were in action against the Charlotte Hornets. He ended 121-109 in favor of Chicago. DeMar DeRozan still playing, still on fire, scored 36 points in that victory. Also, Nikola Vucevic added 18 points and 15 rebounds to go along with 8 assists. The Chicago Bulls are now very close to the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference. As a matter of fact, they're now 1 game behind the Miami Heat. Let's move on to the Raptors and the Okc Thunder. Ended 117-98 in favor of Toronto. Pascal Siakam with 27 points and 16 rebounds in that game. The Toronto Raptors have now won 7 games in a row. Of course, Precious Achiuwa featured in that matchup as well, too. Next up is the Warriors against the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz were supreme in that game. They defeated Golden State 111-85. Bojan Bogdanovic with 23 points to power the Utah Jazz in that particular game, thus ending the 9-game winning streak of the Golden State Warriors. In our feature match, it was the Lakers taking on the Blazers, and it was the Blazers prevailing 107-105. Fernie Simmons with 29 points in that particular victory. And last but not the least, the Timberwolves took on the Sacramento Kings, and it's safe to say the Kings still reigning because they defeated the Timberwolves 132-119. Nigeria's power forward, Chimezie featured in that game, ended up scoring 13 points in a starter's role. But we're going to focus quickly on the Lakers and the Blazers. That's our feature match, and the Lakers have not been doing too well this season. When the season started, Kingsley, there were talks about winning a championship, right? They put together a fantastic roster that has, of course, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook. But guess what? They haven't played up to the potential at all. And as a matter of fact, right now, they are 4 games below 500, and they're struggling to make the playoffs. Who would have ever thought about this at the start of the season?
Given the caliber of player that they have in that team, you just mentioned LeBron James there, one would have thought that that time the Lakers would be high-flying this season.
Exactly.
But so far, it hasn't been that case. As it stands at the moment, I struggle to see how, they are going to make it into that playoff zone, considering the fact that, like you mentioned, they have 500 points, to get in there. So It's been a bad season for them.
Terrible.
Perhaps the key players, haven't brought their A game, into the team this season. So this is just the reason why Lakers are struggling. But I just hope somewhere along the line they'll be able to pick themselves up and then try to get into the playoff spot.
Yeah, we'll see. Fingers crossed. The issue now is we're gradually winding down the season. Of course, as soon as the All-Star break is done, a few games left, and perhaps that's enough for the Lakers to pick up a few wins and get into playoff contention. But as it is right now, it's not looking good for them at all. And despite the efforts, the best efforts of LeBron James in this game, he finished with 30 points. It wasn't enough because the Lakers ended up on the losing side. We're going to take a listen now to his post-game thoughts. When we come back, we'll be telling you all about the top performers in the games that went down in the NBA this morning.
I mean, obviously, it's a tough loss, obviously, in the sense of, we wanted to get back into the winning ways, and but we don't come into the game expecting anything but everybody's best. And second half, for the majority of the second half, we got the best out of Portland. They shot the ball extremely well from the three. I mean, they started the game 0 for 11 from three, and from that point on, they went 10 for 21 or 10 for 20, 10 for 21 from the three-point line in the second half. So. And then, our turnovers, obviously 28 points off 21 turnovers is a killer. Every time we turned the ball over, majority of them was me. It was almost like pick sixes. We didn't get a tackle on the defender who intercepted the ball. They basically ran it in for a touchdown every time. So that's not ingredients for winning basketball.
Certainly not the ingredient for winning basketball games, and that's why the Lakers are struggling badly at the moment. Let's see if they can pick things up, pick up the slack after the All-Star game. Before we leave the NBA, let's take a look at the top performers, all the players that stood out for their sides, starting with DeMar DeRozan, is having a fantastic season, MVP-like season for the former Raptor forward, 36.5 rebounds and 4 assists on the night for the Chicago Bulls in their victory over the Charlotte Hornets. Let's move on to the next guy who's having a decent season as well too. I'm talking about Harrison Barnes of the Sacramento Kings, 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists for the Kings. And last but not the least, of course, LaMelo Ball, the young star, 33 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. They lost against the Chicago Bulls. Of course, King James has been a regular feature on this list right from the start of the season. But it's not been a great time at all for the Lakers. 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists on the night for the King. Ended up on the losing side once again. So that's it for the NBA. We're still talking basketball, but this time around, it's time to focus on Nigeria's D Tigers. They're going to begin their quest to qualify for the FIBA Women's World Cup later this year. And they'll be taking on China. China is a very, very good side, one of the best sides in the world. As a confirmation of the fixture for you right there. First game is going to be against China, while Mali is going to take on France in the other Group B game. This group is all about making sure you finish in the top 3 to pick a ticket. So Nigeria, you have to say, they stand a very good chance in this matchup. Kingsley, Nigeria, China. I know if you're going to talk about basketball in Nigeria, there's no way you're going to leave out the shenanigans and the crisis in the ANBBF. And you wonder how all of this situation will impact the performance of the girls.
Certainly, because what goes on behind the court, has a way, of surfacing on the court,
Absolutely.
and also psychologically too on the players, when you consider when they consider the fact that allowances are not being paid, bonuses, and what have you, and for these players, they go in there with the mindset or with the hope of saying, okay, when I represent my country, we do well. They expect to be rewarded, and when these rewards don't come around, it tends to have a way of playing on the psyche of the players. So I just hope they are able to put some, behind,
aside,
all the administrative shenanigans going on, and come up good in this group. But however, they are playing China, a very formidable side, in world basketball, anytime, any day. the Tigress, champions in the continent. So we wait to see how, they can translate, the form in the continent, to the world.
Indeed, back-to-back champions, Nigeria's the Tigress, but it's a different kettle of fish, totally playing on the world stage against China. Let's take a look at the D-Tigress roster, the players that are representing the country at the FIBA Women's World Cup qualifying tournaments in Belgrade. There are a few names that are missing. Number one, obviously, is our playmaker, Ezine Kalu, who's unfortunately out injured at the moment. But in the absence, we've got the likes of Amy Okonkwo. We also have Palace Kunai Akpana. There's also Promise Amu Kamara. There is also Adara Ilono, the captain, always ready and always leading by example. She's on the roster as well too. In came Akarawe, Nura Janatu Musa, Atonye Nguifa, as well as Odera Chidum, as well as Victoria Macaulay, Nicole Enabosi, and Ifi Ibekwe. These are the players that are going to be representing Nigeria at the FIBA Women's World Cup qualifying tournaments in Belgrade. Now let's take a listen to the captain of the team, speaking about Nigeria's readiness for the games.
Well, sure, we knew we were going to play them, as well as France and China, so we're kind of prepared for all of them. I've been waiting for all three teams, just because we have to compete against all of them. But we're quite familiar with France as well as Mali, so I think those games will be quite familiar for us, yet different, just because of the team that we have now. I think keeping us focused is the least of our worries. We've been together for a while. All the players, we're familiar with each other. So I think that will be the least of our worries, is just going out there and playing hard, which is not something that we worry too much about. But like you said, we are a little banged up. But everyone's been in season, so I think most teams are dealing with the same things. But I think we're always gonna be focused on ourselves and try to compete the best way we can. We haven't played China that I can remember, so we're not quite familiar with them. I mean, Coach he's done some work there, coached there before, so it'll be a new experience for us. And I'm not sure so they haven't played against us as well, so it'll be different. I think we'll still kind of show who we are. Like Coach said, we still have that core, that function. We haven't changed much of ourselves. So it'll be very interesting, although it's different.
It is different, but there's still this core of the team in place for the World Cup qualifier against China, as well as France and Mali subsequently. It's good to see the girls just being exemplary, putting all of the issues behind them to represent Nigeria. That's what we want from them, and that's what we hope the administrators can or should do as well to take basketball to the next level. Also, leading the team is Okc Thunder. That's the coach of the team, been with the side for the past few years now, won a couple of AfroBasket titles. Okc Thunder hasn't been speaking ahead of the game against China. Let's get his pre-game thoughts.
It's a tough loss, but we have some players that can do other things. We're just going to have to play a little different, and we'll see. We're a little banged up and a little short-handed, but we're still going to put 5 on the floor at a time and play as hard as we can. Take care of the basketball. Transition defense is going to be very, very important, and keeping those bigs off the board. If we can, play good defense and take good shots, take care of the ball, I think we'll at least give ourselves a chance. They scored 83 points on Serbia yesterday. Serbia has a full team. China has a full team. China's been practicing. They're probably the only country that has their entire team in that country all year. So they're able to pull their players away whenever they want. And it's been at least 2 weeks that they've been practicing. We started yesterday with 4 girls 2 days ago, and then 8 girls yesterday, and now maybe 10 today. And so we're still trying to figure out, who we are. It's an entirely different team and a lot of young players with not a lot of experience. So guys, don't be too hard on us, because it's going to be a tribute to these girls if they can really get in here and hold their own 3 games in a row with Victoria, and Ife's out, and So it's going to be fun. I'm excited to see their resolve. You know, I'm not happy about it, but I'm still excited, if that makes any sense. Happy that we get the opportunity to return to a world tournament. A little, you know, hesitant with intrepidation of how we would fare. Because I love these girls. I don't want to see them not play well.
They should be able to make it through.
Yes, it's safe to say it's going to be a true test of character for D Tigress when they take on China later today. Obviously, the situation far from ideal. Players missing, lack of preparations, and they're taking on a very formidable side in China. We wish them all the best in that one. It's safe to say they have their work cut out indeed. But then the good thing is that they've got two more opportunities after China. That's against France and Mali. Hopefully they're able to return to the World Cup. The last appearance at the World Cup was historic. They got to the quarterfinals, and we're hoping they can go back there and build on that performance. Okay, so that's it for the D Tigress. Let's get on with the show. We're still talking basketball, but this time let's focus on the Basketball Africa League. Yesterday, I said on the show that Nigeria's River Supers will be missing out on the second edition because of the MBBF crisis that is currently going on right now, which is quite a shame. And Kingsley, it is sad that we're here, that Nigeria's champions, the best side in the land, will not be going to this incredible tournament put together by the NBA and FIBA to grow the sport on the continent. All because, not because they're not good enough, but just because the authorities have refused to put their house in order.
You know, we were talking behind the scene here, and I said it cuts across every phase of our sport. You know, and it's pretty disappointing that River Hoopers will have to miss out. You know, because of administrative issues. Election today, election today. Who is the president? Who is not the president? Who's been endorsed? Who's not been endorsed? You know, and all of that. But I think the earlier we get ourselves together, the earlier they're able to put their house together, the better, because this is going to affect not just the performance of the club side, but the national team at large.
Terrible. All right, we're going to go to PH right now, Port Harcourt, to speak to one of the players of Rivers Hoopers. I'm talking about ID Organ. ID, good morning. It's great to have you on Sport this morning. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm very good.
Yes. All right, you're welcome. Straight away, how did you receive that news that Rivers Hoopers will not be a part of the second edition of the Basketball Africa League?
It's sad news, and here in the camp, everybody is very, very angry, and it's an unpleasant situation, and we're just trying to get through it.
I mean, you look really subdued. It's very obvious, very palpable. I mean, you've already talked about everyone being sad and everyone being distraught by the situation. It's a massive missed opportunity for you guys. For example, for someone like you, you didn't make the first edition. You were dropped from the roster. Surely you were looking forward to the second edition to strut your stuff.
Yes, I was. I was really looking forward to this edition, missing the first one, and it's a big disappointment and a big blow for me personally and for the team.
Yes, indeed. I don't know. I wish I could cheer you up, but I understand where you're coming from. So, I mean, for obvious reasons, that the MBBF issues are largely responsible for what is going on. What would be a message to the basketball authorities to ensure that these kind of situations are prevented going forward? I mean, it's literally a dream killer when you can't go to incredible tournaments like this.
I think it's time for the stakeholders in basketball to put their swords aside and try to build the game of basketball. For years now, we've been running without a local league, and it's not good for the players. Most players earn a living through basketball. So for over 4 years, basketballers have been indoors or doing something else. It's not good for the game of basketball. Everybody in Nigeria is very angry at the situation, and we hope that something meaningful and positive comes out this time around.
Hopefully, that's what we all praying for. As a matter of fact, we wish that going forward, all these issues will become a thing of the past. So you guys can return to and focus on just playing basketball. That's what you're here to do. And you've already said it as well too. You guys, it's a means of livelihood for a lot of you guys. I wonder how you've been coping without a proper basketball league in the past few years. Now you're missing out on the Basketball Africa League now through no fault of yours. ID, I want to thank you for being a part of the show. Really appreciate your time. And like I said, hopefully the issues are resolved as soon as possible so you guys can focus on playing the beautiful game. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
As a visibly subdued Rivers Hoopers players, they're not happy that they won't be a part of the Basketball Africa League. We need to go on a break now. When we come back, we'll be talking football. And we've got updates coming from the Ghanaian Football Association. They have named a new technical crew for the World Cup qualifier against Nigeria. You get updates of this after this timeout. You're welcome back. You can be a part of the show by sending your tweets to channels_sports. You can also send your mails to sportthismorning@channelstv.com. We'll try as much as possible to take them before the show is over. Ghana have named their technical crew for the World Cup qualifier against Nigeria. They're going to be led. There you go. That's a confirmation of how you can be a part of the show. Sport This Morning at channelstv.com as well as channels_sports on Twitter. Let us know your thoughts on the Ghanaians naming Chris Hughton as the technical advisor for the Black Stars for the World Cup qualifier against Nigeria. Do you think they have the edge now, naming a vastly experienced Premier League manager to lead their assault against the Super Eagles? Let us know your thoughts on the program. Kingsley?
Yeah.
All right, so let's just quickly get into that. We're going to be going to our guests as well too, Okc Johnson, but that's going to be in a few seconds. But the story is out. Finally, we know who's going to be leading the Ghanaians for the World Cup qualifier against Nigeria. They're being led by Chris Hughton. There you go. That's the Black Stars technical crew right there. Otto Addo is going to be the head coach. There's also George Boateng, as well as Masoud Didi Dramani. So those are the guys that will be on the bench for Ghana against Nigeria on March the 24th and 27th. You worried? You're shaking in your boots?
Before this appointment, I gave the Super Eagles slight edge, over the Ghanaians because of, how the two sides performed, in the just concluded AFCON. I felt that on the display on the field, that the Super Eagles, just perhaps did better than the Ghanaians. I mean, we also the Ghanaians. They were in shambles, they were all over the place, in AFCON. But with Chris Hughton coming in, wealth of experience from the Premiership, and of course the support cast, you're seeing the Otto Addo coming in from Dortmund too, which for me, I think at this point with this appointment, we just even, with this appointment.
Even things out now.
Yeah, it's even things out because I felt before this appointment, I felt that the Super Eagles, have the edge, and we'll go out there and qualify for the World Cup. But right now, we have to, bring our A game to the table, and again, it goes to show how, serious administrators, do things. At the last Nations Cup, they felt the coach that led them there didn't perform according to how they wanted, and immediately after the Nations Cup, they just laid him off, and they went straight ahead. It's been 2 weeks now since, they were knocked out of the Nations Cup, and now they have a new coach. Ours over here, it's not the same story. We don't know if Eguavon is in charge, if Amunike is assisting, I mean...
Of course, Eguavon's got to be in charge. He led the team to the AFCON.
All of this is just a cause to worry for us. But then again, it's the Super Eagles, it's Ghana. They're just gonna see it out. So I just pray that the best side win at the end of the day, and the best side definitely for me should be the Super Eagles.
Of course, Okc Johnson. Good morning. Thank you for coming on the show once again. How you doing? What's up?
Morning, Tayo. Always a pleasure to be here. Feels great to be here. And as we build up to the World Cup playoffs, these things are always going to sort of happen because people are preparing. People have to prepare. The Ghanaians had a forgettable AFCON. So in this talk around Chris Hughton being appointed, we've seen him actually in consultation with some of the players that he'll be looking to prosecute the playoff games with. There are talks that he's been trying to convince a certain Callum Hudson-Odoi to play for Ghana in the two games. Also, the man we saw in action yesterday, the Southampton defender, Salisu. Yeah. So he's been doing some groundwork in preparation because, see, even if they appointed Arsene Wenger or Jose Mourinho or even Guardiola, the fact is the window to make far-reaching changes to the team is very narrow. The guys don't get a week off. They don't get 2 weeks off before the playoffs. They get days off. And to perform the kind of surgical operation that Ghanaian team needs, you have to be a magician to be able to turn them around that quickly. They don't have playing personnel of quality in critical areas. They don't have defenders, for instance. They're very threadbare, even in midfield. Take out the Arsenal man, Thomas Partey. The rest of the midfield is on borrowed legs. Dede Ayew is past his prime. They really don't have good quality players who are young coming through in the current squad, except for new players that they've been prospecting around Europe of Ghanaian heritage or ancestry. So let's not make it look as if it's an automatic plug and play. I don't think that it swings the momentum in their favor in any way, shape, or form because it doesn't get time to prepare the team. In terms of how they organize on the day, yes, they'll be better organized. They'll have a better shape to them. They'll have a plan how to move the ball from defense into midfield into attack. But you still need a playing personnel to execute that. Pep Guardiola came to City in the first year. They were battered black and blue until he was able to bring in the right kind of personnel before they had that sort of stranglehold on the Premier League. So, and let's not pretend that Chris Hughton is some Alex Ferguson. He's not. As a matter of fact, I don't rate him any higher than Emmanuel Amunike in terms of understanding the game.
Oh wow.
So yes, I think the Ghanaians are in even bigger trouble than we are. We saw our team at the AFCON. A lot of young players in there now. A lot of improvement from the qualifiers a few months ago. Yes, we lost to Tunisia, but did you see Ghana at AFCON? Did you see
they were
Ghana?
atrocious.
They were abject. They were absolutely abject. They were pathetic. So I'm not going to start quaking in my pants just because they named a Chris Hughton to come and do some sort of damage limitation. And that's not to discount their chances. I mean, I think the two teams are almost equally matched. Maybe Nigeria just shading a little bit, 60-40. But you still have to do the business anyways, even if they didn't name him as their coach. Even if they didn't name a coach. Even if, they named a toddler as their coach, you will still have to beat them on the day. So, on the 2 days. So for me, we have Amunike to join Eguavoen, obviously, to plug some of the deficient areas that Eguavoen clearly, has. And I think that Eguavoen and Amunike have some relationship going. And that gives me some joy because they're not going to be clashing heads. It looks to me like they're chummy, at least. They may not be bosom friends, but at least they've got a positive relationship going. And you need that when you have what looks like a consortium of coaches, working with the team. But without a doubt, the manager, even though he has a different nomenclature, is Eguavoen. But the guy who makes the technical calls, the guy who drills the team, the guy who designs the game plans is going to be Amunike because obviously that's his forte. That's what he's good at. So it's getting the best of these two individuals and fusing it together. And I think that nullifies whatever advantage Chris Hughton would have been given the Ghanaians. So I'm still very positive and I feel very bullish about this. Nigeria is still in the driver's seat, except we mess it up on the day.
Indeed, right. That's very, very positive coming from Badaki today, Johnson. Chris Hughton or not, Nigeria still the favorites for that game against the Ghanaians. There's also Otto Addo as well. So George Boateng, from Aston Villa, is also a part of the technical team for the Black Stars. We'll see how it pans out. First match is going to be on March the 24th, and the return leg, the crucial one, is going to be on March the 27th in Abuja. Hopefully, Nigeria can seal qualification for Qatar 2022 in that one. Let's leave the World Cup qualifiers now. Let's quickly come back to still talking football. Let's go to the Premier League where Manchester City have gone 12 points clear after they defeated Brentford 2-0 yesterday night at the Etihad. It was a very, very tricky, difficult game for the citizens, but they found a way to get the victory. Here's a confirmation of the results of the games that were played. City 2-0 over Brentford. Norwich and Crystal Palace played a 1-1 draw. Wilfred Zaha with a stunner, only to miss a penalty moments later in that game. Tottenham were stunned by the Saints 3-2. Two late goals coming from Mohamed Oyunusi and Che Adams. And last but not the least, we saw a thriller at Villa Park between Aston Villa and Leeds United. That game ended 3 apiece. Both sides were forced to come from behind at different points in the game. All right, let's focus on Manchester City and Brentford. Guys, I think we can all agree that City are just coasting to the title, or do you see any major bump in the way?
Oh, well, certainly not at this point, because if you look at the characteristics of Pep Guardiola's team, you understand that once they go into the league standing at the top of the league standing, there's no pulling them down. This is the turn of the season. Games number 24, 25, I think, and at this point there's no pulling City down. The rest of the chasing pack, they're only going to try to play catch up, but I don't see City losing this league for any reason at all.
For any reason. Yeah. But what about you? Anything to change your mind about City cruising to yet another title? I mean, we've seen them drop points in the last game against Southampton. Now they struggled against Brentford. Perhaps you're starting to see a few chinks in their armor?
Not at all. I think that City recognize that sometimes they don't need to get out of gear 2 to beat some of these teams. They don't have to play champagne football. They don't have to do the tricks and the flicks and score the perfect team goal. Sometimes you do the bare minimums and you still get the 3 points. Yesterday, Brentford were missing their key players. There was no Ivan Toney. There was no some other key players. They played a lot of youngsters in the team. So City didn't really carve them open too many times, but you always knew there was only going to be one winner in that game because on the back foot, City didn't have to respond to too many questions. Brentford couldn't muster a lot of threats in City's third of the pitch, and going forward, City kept trying to create chances. They were missing the final pass. They were missing the final touch, but once the Brentford defender brought down Raheem Sterling and Riyad Mahrez finished emphatically, you knew that it was game over. And like you said, the games recently haven't looked as convincing as how they looked in November and December. But I think the critical thing is City went 2, 3, 4 gears above everyone else in the league in that period where you had so many games, so that they could establish this, what I call an unassailable lead, and then from there take it easy and conserve their energies for the bigger competition, which is the UEFA Champions League, which you must remember comes back in a few days' time. That's the top priority. They know they can keep momentum going at gear 2, gear 3, and get past most teams. When they play Liverpool, when they play Spurs, when they play Chelsea, they will switch it off. You will see them switch it on. Rather, they would turn on the style, turn on the quality. Be more intensive in the way they attack the team, in the way they close down when they lose the ball and all those things. But even with not having to do all of that, it was still a stroll yesterday against Brentford. There was only one winner, Pep Guardiola's team. And for me, I don't see how there is any change to what I predicted way back December. Liverpool are not going to catch City. Chelsea are even further behind. It's not happening. City are going to be champions. It's just a matter of when. How quickly do they do it? How early do they do it?
All right, so City to win the title. The rest are just playing catch up. Let's go to the incredible match at the Tottenham Stadium between Spurs and Southampton. What a game that was. It ended 3-2. Heung-min Son at some point looked to have stolen all 3 points for Tottenham. They didn't play too well at all in that game. they were clearly the inferior side, but somehow Humansong scored and it looked like Tottenham were going to return to winning ways under Antonio Conte, but then 2 late goals did the business for Southampton, and you have to say they thoroughly deserved all 3 points.
Yeah, you look at all the stats, and you feel like Southampton must have been the home team because there was nothing that. Yeah, they were playing away from home. They had, I think, 10 shots on target, had over 20 shots at Tottenham's goal.
23.
Tottenham must have about three shots on target or something like that. They deserved the win thoroughly, and I thought that Tottenham's experience and doggedness under Antonio Conte almost swung the momentum decisively in their favor when Son scored that second goal. But critically, his celebration sort of riled the Southampton team because he celebrated wildly and in their faces, and it was disrespectful. And you saw how Southampton just switched to another gear and were more decisive in their decision making in the final third. And James Ward-Prowse, what a player!
What a player!
2 pinpoint crosses, 2 absolutely on the money crosses to find Ilianusi and Evans late on. You don't defend those. You put the ball right on the money, finds the man, he gets the right contact, is going into the back of the net. And Antonio Conte can, have no complaints whatsoever because even their second goal should have been chalked up because there was a foul in the build-up. The Southampton player was crushed by Emerson Royal, and that was a foul. So as far as I was concerned, that was a 3-1 win for Southampton yesterday. They thoroughly deserved it. They dominated the game from start to finish. And on the back of the last 2 performances, I think the game before, they held City to a draw.
Yes.
And they've gone on to beat Tottenham at home now. And it's looking like Southampton will have a very, very strong second half of the season. And they should have absolutely no relegation worries whatsoever. If anything, the possibility of still finishing in the European places is still very much there if they continue to play this way. But we know when they play top teams, they raise their games, or their game. But when they come up against smaller teams and they are the big fry, they are the big scalp that the smaller teams want to claim, it's a different ball game altogether. So that's how the Premier League is. You really cannot, predict, and that's why we love it.
Yes, that's why we love it. It's a very exciting matchup between Spurs and the Saints yesterday night. Do you have anything to say on this game before we move on to the next match? Conte losing yet another game on the back of losing against Chelsea.
Southampton, a bogey team for some big teams out there. They have a good coach on the bench for them, a formidable side too. Good players who are on their ranks, like we saw Ilianusi, Salisu at the back, commanding the back out there for them. I think Southampton, they are built for games like this. When they came up against Tottenham, according to the books, one would have thought that Tottenham, with Antonio Conte, would have just steamrolled, Southampton. But, Southampton had a say in that game. And the result, is what we've seen here. 3 maximum points in the backs of Southampton. So there are no pushovers. One just have to be careful with them. But, Tottenham didn't learn that lesson, from teams that are falling from the hands of Southampton, and they paid the price for it.
Yeah, they paid the price, 3 drop points. And that's a little bump on their way to trying to get into the top 4. But let's come back to you and talk about another fantastic game of football between Leeds United and Aston Villa. What a game. Ended 3-3. And that little magician, Philippe Coutinho, with a goal and a couple of assists again. First of all, are you surprised it's taken back to the PL like duck to water so easily?
Well, his quality has never been in doubt. I'm not surprised in any way. Even at Bayern, where there was a plethora of options in his position, in the season that they won the Champions League, he still played his part. Remember the game against Barcelona where he came on, scored, in the rout as well. I think a couple of goals as well. And for Brazil, he's been key over the years. Not exactly hit the heights that we projected after, the massive seasons that he had before he made the transfer to Barcelona. But he's back to familiar territory and playing for a manager that knows him too well. And he's turning on the style and producing results. I thought, yes, he scored yesterday, but the highlight for me was the second goal that the assist he provided for Ramsey. Yeah, how he took the ball on the half turn, lost his marker, drove into space and picked out an impossible pass for me. I mean, put 100 central midfielders, creative players in the same position. 99 of them don't see that pass, let alone play it. But the imagination and the execution, top quality. And the Ramsey ran on to fire into the back of the net, and he created another one.
All right.
Aston Villa had Daniel James, who scored a couple himself. And Aston Villa, stormed back, took a 3-1 lead. But Leeds, they never know when they are beating. No. And then, they found another gear and scored 2 goals to tie the game late on. So it was a 6-goal thriller. 2 teams who entertained us. Bielsa will be happy, but I think having surrendered a 3-1 lead, Steven Gerrard will be making some inquisition, some inquest into what went wrong. I think between Tyrone Mings and Konsa, there were just too many mistakes, avoidable mistakes. Leeds' second goal was laid on a third goal rather was laid on a plate for the player by Mings. Llorente by Mings' unconvincing clearance, and then Konsa got himself stupidly sent off by elbowing the goalkeeper later. So there are areas for improvement. But if you look at where Aston Villa were before Steven Gerrard took over and where they are now, they've made massive improvements. They've taken giant strides. They brought in some key players, and yesterday we saw their strength and their weaknesses in equal measure. But there's still enough to lift the heart of the fans, knowing that they are definitely not where they used to be before Steven Gerrard came.
You're spot on. Bada, I want to thank you for joining us on the show. Appreciate your analysis as always. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we need to go on a break right about now. When we come back, we'll be taking a look at the exploits of Chelsea at the FIFA Club World Cup. Join us again. You're welcome back. You saw highlights of how Chelsea defeated Al Hilal of Saudi Arabia, including Nigeria's Odion Igalo in the semifinals of FIFA Club World Cup. They're going to be taking on Palmeiras on Saturday in the final. Chelsea, of course, are doing the job. It wasn't straightforward as a lot of people expected.
Yeah. I mean, we saw the Congolese
Kepa,
there, the Congolese Mariga, and of course the combination of him and Odion, always almost proved to be positive out there. But Chelsea held their own, as the big team that they are. But then again, would they be able to go one step further than they did in 2012? It remains to be seen, because they're facing Palmeiras, another strong side from South America. Yeah. So I wish Chelsea all the best, and I also wish Palmeiras all the best too as well.
All right, so see how that game pans out between Brazil and England in the final of the FIFA Club World Cup. Let's go now to the Nigerian Professional Football League. Let's come to the Nigerian Professional Football League. A game went down yesterday between Heartland FC and Gombe United. It ended 1 apiece in that particular fixture. That result doesn't do Heartland's chances of avoiding relegation any good at all. Chidera Eze gave Gombe United the lead on 34 minutes, but Jonathan Aluku in the 82nd minute equalized for Heartland, and that's how they were able to get a point in that game. Let's get the post-game thoughts of the coaches.
It's even unfortunate that this pitch did not permit the flow of the game. Ordinarily, this is not the way we play. But the pitch has a lot of contours, too much of obstacle. The ball was not flow as supposed to be. Eze and Kelechi, they have been outstanding players since they came to our place. Very regular, very consistent, both in training and match. They have been very, very professional in their dealings.
As a professional coach, I feel bad, but when you look at when I came in, it's a very short period. I'm trying to crash some program into the boys so that we use it because there's no time. All this midweek is bringing us back. You can't do anything because you can't load, you can't do anything, but you can do some small thing to carry on this thing. So I feel bad, but there's room for improvement. Since I came, even a friendly match I've not played because this is something I'm supposed to correct with friendly match. I will play a friendly match. No, those who are match fit and all this thing. Those who are good and this we carry them along. But I don't have time. I just come in to see boys gathered together. So I've done what I think I'm supposed to do.
Very interesting take coming from the coaches right there. They ended up sharing the spoils, so maybe they will be happy with that particular outcome. Before we take a look at the papers, let's give you updates. News are coming from Edo State. Nearly a year after the conclusion of the 20th National Sports Festival, Edo 2020, the local organizing committee says it is still expecting the 500 million naira bailout from the federal government, which was agreed as compensation for the series of postponements of the games caused by the coronavirus pandemic. The chairman of the local organizing committee and the deputy governor of the state, Philip Schreiber, has more on this situation.
You recall that we threatened to shut down the tournament halfway. We actually closed the MOC office a day before the MOC office was eventually reopened after a lot of consultation and discussion with the Honorable Minister and the governor also being involved in that discussion with the Chief of Staff and the federal government. And eventually, they agreed that they will give us a support of 500 million as against the 2.5 billion that we already earlier agreed, but which led to the governor now giving us a loan of 500 million, and we have to now pay this money to our vendors, the hoteliers, so that they threatened to double lock most of those accommodation that night if we didn't pay. And the caterers were ready to down tools. But after that discussion, the governor was able to give loan to the LOC to the tune of 500 million, which helped us to deal with those issues. As we speak, we are still appealing. Recently, we still had a discussion with the Honorable Minister, and we have promised that by the grace of God, the money will be paid to Edo State government. So we have also, in our report, we have also informed the governor because we are supposed to pay that money back to the state government. So we've informed him, and the governor is talking with them. But I can assure you, with the recent discussion we had with the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sport and the Finance Minister, hopefully we'll get the 500 million that they promised. But as at now, the money has not still been paid.
We'll definitely keep an eye on the situation. If there's any updates, you'll be the first to know on Channel Sport this morning. I'm going to take one tweet before I look at the papers. Our noble flyman, you're saying Nigeria is the only country in the world that the government bureaucracy and personal selfish interests of administrators, you're mentioning names, kills the raw talents. These leeches should be kicked out from our sports administration. It is very disheartening, and I hope we get it right Great message coming right there from Noble Flyer, man. Let's take a look at the papers before we close the show. Complete Sport is right here, and great news for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. That's because Osimhen trained without wearing a mask 6 weeks to the match against Ghana.
Oh, it's a welcome development,
Yes.
and it's a good news for the national team, considering the fact that the face injury, was one of the major reasons why, he didn't go to the Nations Cup,
Yeah.
after suffering that injury against Inter Milan in the league. But I think it's good to have him back, training and playing, without the face protect marks. I saw him over the weekend, he scored a header, wearing the protective mask. But it's a welcome news if he can play and be comfortable playing, without wearing the face mask.
Awesome, fantastic news. Still on Osimhen, Arsenal high Osimhen as Aubameyang replacement. We'll see how that transfer goes down in the summer. There's also news concerning Asisat Oshoala, who made her 100th appearance for Barcelona yesterday. She's having a fantastic season, and hopefully she can end it on a high as well. To so many other interesting stories. Leicester versus Liverpool, indeed, is set for 160th Premier League appearance. That's going to be later tonight when Liverpool take on Leicester City. All right, guys, that's it for the show. Thank you for coming. Appreciate your time again.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure being here.
Always a pleasure indeed, and thank you all for watching as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. I am Tayo Salam.